Welcome from Sananda. Let's look at embodying light. You are light in human form. That's one way of describing who and what you are. So in that sense, embodying light isn't exactly the right term. It's more that the light you are is embodying physicality. But then if we step back a little and ask why it might be that a being of light would choose to associate with that complex and beautiful collection of elements that is your physical body, we might point to an evolutionary process by which your presence as a being of light in close association with all of those elements that make up molecules, that make up cells and so on, that through that close association you are liberating light that is contained within matter or from which matter is derived, so that you're allowing matter itself to evolve, to be able to express more of its essence. And at this time, in this manner of evolution that you're engaged in, one of the simplest ways of describing the nature of that shift of evolution is that it's in the direction of greater flow, leaving behind comparatively fixed forms and allowing a sense of flow which could be translated into a sense of aliveness or greater aliveness. So here you are, experiencing yourself as a physical being in a physical world, and directly dependent upon physical light. Your sense, your calculation about this may be that you're only indirectly dependent upon physical light, in that you don't photosynthesize as the plants do, but rather you make use of their ability to photosynthesize and nourish yourself with those plants, or with the animals that nourish themselves with those plants. So you experience yourself as part of a food chain, and that food chain is dependent upon photosynthesis. But I would suggest that you are more directly dependent upon physical light than might be immediately obvious. Consider yourself then as this human being, physical, being of light. Just now, whatever you consider yourself to be, however you might describe yourself, you're present, you're here on earth. Let's look then at this relationship you have with physical light, the light of the sun. It's vital, of course, for life on earth in general, and as I've suggested, you may be more directly dependent upon it than you've been educated to think. Imagine yourself, as I speak or as you read these words in the transcript, being outdoors on a beautiful dawn day, just as the sun is rising above the horizon. Somewhere you can see the sun as it rises. You're not needing to look directly into the light of the sun, not needing to endanger your physical eyes, just aware of it. Instead, consider your heart center. Let that be the primary responder to the light of the rising sun. And imagine that with those rays of light as they first come to you, come to your heart center, as you feel the warmth of the sun as a physical being. Imagine or use your inner senses to sense, feel, see, discern many subtle qualities of light, what broadly we can call inner light. light that your physical eyes, by and large, do not see, but light that your inner senses may well respond to. It is this light, more than the physical light, that you are dependent upon. Without it, you would wither and die within a short space of time. And the physical light carries it. The physical light is the vehicle that carries it into the physical world, the spiritual light. Every star has its own qualities of light. So the sun, your sun, has its own qualities. Because you're so closely engaged with that light, it's not always easy to detect what those qualities might be compared to that of other stars, or those qualities of other stars. That doesn't matter. You're so immersed in this light that it is really part of you. You wouldn't be able to sustain a human energy field without it being renewed by the spiritual light of the sun. For in order to be here on earth, in order to make this remarkable commitment to physical matter, you as a being, a non-physical being, came through the spiritual light of the sun, and in doing so, you gathered to you the necessary materials, the very fine frequencies, and the ways of organizing those frequencies that enable you to correctly manufacture, we might say, the substrate for physicality. Of course, that's not the only way of seeing this. You understand well that you are physical beings and that you have come into this world via two parents, and their gift of those physical cells that enable your body to grow, first of all within your mother's womb, and then onwards as an individual living in the world. But that biological truth does not contradict or deny the other truth that I'm sharing, that I'm describing. That journey through the soul of the sun, its light. And so again, you might say, given that this might be true, that as you arrive in this world, why would you need to embody light? You are an embodiment of light. And yet you will have noticed that in this journey into physicality, you are not uninfluenced by the density of the matter you associate with. It's characteristic of entering this world that there is a tendency to a kind of amnesia, that much that is obvious to you as a non-physical being no longer is immediately obvious and present for you in your consciousness. There is a certain kind of dulling of the senses. It's not really a dulling, it's just that you're focusing on using physical senses. Those physical senses are beautiful, not dull at all, but they are designed to operate within a certain range of frequencies, or in relationship to certain behaviors of energy that you call matter. And so there are limitations, but nevertheless, one of the ways, a simple way, in which you can embody light in the way that I will go on to describe shortly, is by being grateful for what, in a sense, you yourself have created, or what has been gifted to you by your parents, or what has been gifted to you by the earth itself. All of these have truth too. And that gratitude does something remarkable. What happens is that as you experience gratitude towards yourself as a physical being, towards the physical matter that makes up your body, towards the cells that make up your body, you're creating a shift within the energy field that gives rise to that matter. You're giving permission for a certain kind of opening. For every element out of which your body is currently made is itself also constructed from light. There is, in a manner of speaking, light buried within it. And your job in coming to live here on earth in physical form is, in part, to help to liberate the light that is contained within matter. You could use quite a simple model. You might imagine taking some light and squeezing it and squeezing it and squeezing it in the same way that you can take some carbon and squeeze it and squeeze it and squeeze it and it becomes a diamond. Imagine squeezing light until it becomes solid enough to take on the form that gives you the experience of physicality. That may not be exactly a literal truth, but it works quite well as a model. Because we can then say that part of what you're doing is decompressing that compression. Again, there might be room here for a question. Why would you do that? You've chosen to be here in physical form. Why would you need to change a functioning structure, a physical body that actually works beautifully in the environment in which you live? To be sure, it's capable of evolving. And here we come to the crux. It is capable of evolving. And when you look back down eons of evolution, that Darwinian model of evolution presents you with the notion of the survival of the fittest, those sorts of ideas, and of gradual mutation over many generations. It happens that you find yourself now in an age in which, whilst that form of evolution has not ceased, it is in a way being superseded. You're moving to a state of consciousness where you can experience a greater interaction with the process of evolution. You're no longer merely subject to it, but not through genetic manipulation. That's available and being explored, but it's not that here that I'm talking about. It is through consciousness and awareness of the nature of physicality, the nature of the elements, molecules, cells that make up your physical body. And the recognition that within all of those, at each level, there is light. That light, using that model I offered, light is being compressed until it becomes, in your terms, physical. And so that the process of evolution here is that as you become more aware of the light that you are, that as you discover it within your experience of physicality, then you're also communicating to those cells and atoms, you're communicating to them that there is a kind of liberation available to them. Not that they cease to be, but they enter into an interaction with your consciousness that allows them to become in themselves more conscious. And so the evolutionary process takes you in the direction of recognizing yourself more as a very fluid field of light that has the capacity to take on solidity when that is valuable to you, but can just as easily, as it were, thin itself out, become diffused, so that you experience yourself more as a presence of light. And this kind of flexibility is in line with the overall plan for the evolution of life on Earth. For the Earth itself is evolving too, and its consciousness is opening to a new level of experience, and you're part of that evolutionary process. And that new level of experience is a kind of gathering together. It has many aspects, but this is one. It is a kind of gathering together of several different dimensions that have been kept separate to allow certain kinds of evolutionary paths to be followed with relatively complete independence. But now you're beginning to witness a process of convergence. And in order for that convergence to occur, it's necessary for all the participating dimensions to discover within themselves, to become more conscious within themselves of the fluidity that they are capable of. So there's a sort of marrying of different energy streams, a blending together. And the purpose behind that is that all participants benefit from it, that you all benefit from interaction with other kinds of ways of being on Earth, and that other forms of life, other ways of being, other strands of dimensional evolution recognize value in you too. And so there can be a sort of, in a cultural sense, a sort of, or spiritual sense, a kind of explosion of realization. I've already mentioned that gratitude is one of the simplest, actually, and also most effective ways of embodying light. You're letting some of the light that is within you as beingness, as presence, within you as a physical being, to be liberated, to be finding expression through your life as you living this life. But we might now suggest a different kind of approach, a different way of understanding why you might choose to embody light more in your life. And the answer to that approach is very simple. You feel more alive. You enjoy it. It feels better. It feels, in a sense, more natural. There can be a feeling of, that's what I've been waiting for. That's what I've been looking for. And so however it is that you explore embodying more of your light in this life, let it be pleasurable to you. You won't end up with a pleasurable outcome if you're not really enjoying the journey. It doesn't mean that the journey can't present challenges. But as you know from your own life, if you look at your own life, you can recognize that meeting challenges has given you some of the most satisfying experiences of your life. You feel you're alive, you feel you're growing. And so again, as we talk, or as you read the words of the transcript, take a few moments to move within. Consider yourself now not as a receiver of light, but as a source of light. That may already be a reality for you. It may be that you have an awareness of your light body, that it is experientially real to you. Or it may be that it feels as though you're just making it up. It really doesn't matter. If it feels like you're making it up, let yourself. Be like a child, pretend. And imagine what it would be like if you knew, if you could see, if you could feel that you are naturally radiating light. Another caveat here. Don't push. You don't need to. If you try to express your light by pushing it outwards, what you're demonstrating is a lack of belief in your own power. So you're automatically limiting your power, your ability. When you trust that the light that you are naturally expresses itself through you and as you, you enable it. So gratitude, trust, keywords, very simple, very fundamental, very valuable. Trust yourself, trust the integrity of your being. Understand that you don't really know who you are at the moment. You've got ideas about who you are, but those ideas are temporary. They may be so temporary they don't even last the length of a lifetime. So allow yourself to be quite fluid in your relationship to your own self. This too helps the expression of light. And your expression of light can be considerably hampered by an absence of belief in your ability to be a beautiful being, a beautiful presence on earth. So also allow yourself to let go of the habits of guilt, shame, worry, anxiety, fear. There are others, but those will do for now. Each one of them creates a kind of shell, an energy shell around you. And here are you within the shell, little chick, doing your best to hatch out. That hatching out, just as with a bird, happens from within. Help can come from outside. Mother hen keeps the egg warm. That's really important. But the chick has to break the egg open, and that's you. And that's also about expressing, embodying your light. You have to have some sense of there's a beyond, just as the chick does. It's never seen the world outside the egg, but something inside says, I'm getting out of here. So when you consider those shells of guilt and shame and all the rest of it, regard them as like that. You don't exactly know what lies beyond them. It's a mystery. But you sure know it's time to break them open, to discard them. You don't need them anymore. It's not that they haven't been valuable. Again, the chick feeds upon the nourishment within the egg, within your experience of shame, guilt, and fear, and so on. There has been nourishment. You've grown. It's enabled you to understand more about yourself and more about the world. But this is a time for breaking the egg open. And that very process of knowing that it is time for you to be more free in relationship to yourself, in relationship to the world, even though you don't know what that means, what its implications are, where it will take you, that process of itself helps you to embody more light in this mysterious way that there is. So you embody more light in this particular instance that I'm talking about, initially, primarily, by expressing it from within. You're releasing light. But as you release light, there's a reciprocity at work. You receive more light from the universe. And it goes back and forth. Or in truth, it doesn't really go back and forth at all. It's more like a state of continuous flow. And it depends whether you focus on the giving experience of flow or the receiving experience of flow, how you see it or feel it or sense it at any one moment. But actually it's mutual. It's you engaging with the universe in new ways. And it's that that gives you the sense of being more fully alive. Just as the chick curled up within the egg, very quickly is trotting around, grubbing for worms, and exploring all that the world is. So even though it is wise to, I would suggest, acknowledge that you don't really know who you are, grant a kind of expansive beingness to yourself. Let it liberate you. Say to yourself, well, since I don't know who I am or what I am, I don't need to define myself by limits of any kind. I'll find out as I go along. And this too is another reason for embodying light. It's liberating. It frees you. It triggers within you discoveries of more of your own nature. As that light is released, whether you're releasing it from the cells of your physical body or going right down to the atomic level or subatomic level, or whether it's more that you're doing it through whatever processes of spiritual growth and exploration you value, such as meditation, the consequences are the same. Again, there's a reciprocity between the being of light that you are and the physical body that you've adopted. And in that reciprocity, there's an enlargement. There's an opening up within you. And within your energy field, there have been, this is a way of considering it, been multiple, folded up portions of your divine blueprint. Again, we're looking at compression in order to relate to a physical world. But as you let that light in, whether it's from within yourself or whether it's in some way coming from outside through experience, through the gifts of the universe, or whether it's being liberated through your interaction with the cells of your body, by the cells of your body, it all comes to the same thing. Those carefully folded portions of the divine plan, kept in store within your energy field, begin to open at the right pace, at the right time, the way that's right for you. Though you are not consciously in charge of this at the human level, there are high aspects of your being in consort with many, 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 many other beings who are guiding this process. You are in safe hands. You're in your own safe hands, but you're in many hands beyond yours. There are so many beings who are helping at this time. Then, as you consider embodying light, keep it simple. Don't turn it into a push or a pull. It doesn't help. Find the flow of your own life. Sense what works for you. Consider the plants, their journey of photosynthesis. It's a good model for how you work with spiritual light. Imagine yourself again, early in the day, the sun rising. Those rays of sunlight, photons, meeting your body, coming to your chest, your heart, but carrying with them multiple, fantastically beautiful, subtle energies of light. And you do the equivalent of photosynthesis. We focused on your heart, but really all of your body does it. All of your subtle bodies do it. Everything does it. So your heart knows that light. It's so pleased when you receive that light, when you allow it, when you accept it, when you trust. And instantaneously, or as near instantaneously as you can measure, your heart energy is converting that light into usable portions, packets, quantum packets we might consider them to be, that interact with all of your energy field in remarkable ways and contribute to opening up those stored portions of the divine plan. Learn from the plants then. Learn from everything. But on this occasion, let's close with a focus on the plants of your world. How remarkable that process of photosynthesis is. It's not all that does it. You stick a seed in the ground and the soil certainly is really, really important, but without the light, the little shoot that emerges from the seed that breaks through its shell and begins to drink in the light, without that light it couldn't grow. And it doesn't just grow. So many plants, as you witness them, maybe all plants, are beautiful, each beautiful in its own way, each with astonishing abilities, the ability to survive, the ability to adjust to different environments. And consider, let yourself be a little poetic here, consider the flower of each plant to be its gratitude to the sun. It's easy to imagine with a plant like a sunflower which turns its face to follow the sun. But even those plants that have such tiny flowers you need a magnifying glass to see them, they're doing the same thing. They're expressing gratitude to the sun. They're repaying it. But repaying it out of gratitude, not out of indebtedness. Get away from any feeling that you owe, that you're in debt, that you're insufficient, that you're unworthy, that you're not worth. No, leave all that behind. Just let that expression be an expression of gratitude. That's why you're embodying light, because it's beautiful to be alive. Thank you for listening. Go well.